Second take-home exam is up on Blackboard. There are some theories that we have not discussed thoroughly on the test. We're going to talk about one of them today, cultivation theory, which is also in the APA article and several of the other articles, including the skin tone article and crime reporting. You'll see it in the next article that I'm going to put up on Blackboard as well. I'm not going to give you this assignment right now, but if you want to start on it, it's just to watch a video. I want you to watch a video on PBS Frontline called Merchants Are Cool. It's a little bit older of a documentary, but it talks about this interpretation, the feedback model, the feedback loop model of the media and how it works. And it also talks about how the media uses imagery and how they manipulate young people, how they try to prey on trends. A whole host of things that I think you'll find very interesting, and we'll set up is our video that we're going to watch called we're either going to watch Growing Up Online or Digital Nation. Most likely watch Growing Up Online because it focuses more on young people, although Digital Nation is a very good one as well, so I'll probably leave that one as something that you can do optional. But let's start today by talking about cultivation theory and its relationship to social learning theory, which we've talked about before. We talked about social learning theory as this idea that individuals, especially young people who are very impressionable, learn more by observation than by direct instruction, and even by experience. You can't learn everything by experience. Go ask Enrico Fermi what happens when you learn from experience that uranium is radioactive and will kill you. Okay? Go ask whoever jumps off the George Washington Bridge how hard water is. Alright, you don't want to learn these types of things. It's better to learn the oven is hot by someone telling you that it's hot and believing what they say than going out and doing it. Just like it's better to learn that heroin is addictive, either by observing somebody destroy their life with it, which is not very pleasant, or at least at the very minimum observing that other people who are successful don't do this. Name a successful heroin addict. Who? He's not a heroin. He's never on heroin. No, he was smoked crack and did cocaine. I don't. He did pills. I'll give you that. But let me put it this way: is he still using drugs? Okay. I mean, again, William S. Burroughs. Maybe that's about it. And he's an author, and he used the heroin use to actually fuel his creativity to some extent. But again, the big issue here is with social learning theory, and what it has to say with the media is that the media presents models, many times role models, people that individuals, especially young people, have a tremendous amount of affinity with, meaning that they identify with these people. Like, this is not for young people necessarily, and her network is floundering. But you can call me. I mean, if you put me on your show, I don't know if I can help your ratings. Maybe you should get Tim Tebow to be on your show. Anyway, let's take Oprah for example. And here also is why people are more likely. People always say, why would somebody trust somebody on TV? Why would you listen to Regis or Conan O'Brien or Jon Stewart or some of these celebrities who are peddling stuff, or George Clooney talking about Sudan and stuff like that? I can make you an argument that just like people love their dogs more than most of their family and friends, that people love media people more than their family and friends, because Oprah is there at 5 o'clock every single day. She's not taking a day off. She's not returning my calls. She's there every day talking to me specifically, spending time with me. Okay? She talks about things that are interesting to me. Okay? When I talk to my dad, we have nothing in common. Absolutely nothing in common. And it's the worst type of small talk in the world. Okay? Because I care about him, but we have nothing in common. And it just, to me, that is the mind-boggling reality that I just don't enjoy. And what do I want to do? What do I do? Hold my dad's head underneath the water and say, hey, you better start listening and watching football and other sport so we can talk about it? No. You don't even listen to music. I don't know what he does. And he sits and stares at the wall. I don't understand people who are... And I told you, I love him to death, but I'm not going to spend any time with him, and I'm not going to listen to what he has to say about anything. Absolutely nothing. And I guarantee you that a lot of you may not state it that way, But I bet most of you feel the exact same way about your parents. You're not going to listen to what they say about music or movies or food or anything like that. not going to listen to them about smoking and drinking and drugs, are you? Or sex, are you? For the most part. But here's the other issue. If that's the case, and people do love individuals like Oprah, does the TV really initiate changes in people's behavior or personality that pushes them to change their behavior itself? Meaning that when people watch smoking on TV, pervasive amounts of smoking, or smoking being presented as romantic or alluring or cool, does that impact particularly young people's attitudes towards smoking or drinking or drugs or whatever you want to name? And the key here is that the action or behavior that is being promoted or disseminated in the media, first of all, the media does things for one thing only. Dave Chappelle did that stuff with the Mad Real World for one reason. He wasn't trying to lower racial tensions in the United States, was he? What did he want? Does Jon Stewart want to inform people so they can make the right decisions in the voting booth? No. He wants money and that's it. And I've repeatedly said this, and I tell this again to my class downstairs. Think about the world. This is all I have to say about the extent of how far capitalism can be taken, or at least the drive for profit. Not just capitalism, but the singular drive for profit. Think about what would be legal or what would be sold if there were no laws. There are laws against child pornography already, and yet people still sell it. It'd be on every street. When I told my class downstairs, they had crack and child porn in the same vending machine if it was legal. With prostitutes standing right next to them. Probably 12-year-old prostitutes or something. I mean, people are, unfortunately, not everybody would do this, but look, if you can sell it, it would happen. People would kill people for hire and sell their kidneys and their eyeballs and all kinds of stuff. People are already trying to do this stuff. Okay? And that's the part of the problem here. Television doesn't give a damn if they show smoking in a positive light and a bunch of kids start smoking. They don't care. It's not their, and I'll tell you, and I'll defend the media. It's not their responsibility to stop people from smoking, is it? When is the TV's responsibility to guide people's moral behavior? It's never been that way. Lady Gaga doesn't give a damn whether or not some 12-year-old has sex with somebody because they like her image and they think that sexuality is cool and they get herpes. She doesn't care about that. She's not paying for their medication. She's not apologizing for them. Okay? Madonna doesn't care if she drags people into the muck with her. As long as they buy her album and pay for her show. And here's the proof. The music industry only got upset when the internet started taking their money. That's the only time they've ever gotten upset about anything. They don't give a damn. Somebody watches Jackass and tries to jump over a car on a skateboard and kills themselves. You think Steve-O and Johnny Knoxville are giving anybody any money or apologizing for that? This Project X movie. Somebody already died trying to mimic the crap in this movie. And some moral entrepreneurs and family, I guarantee there's families out there going, that's a shame, we should sue the makers of that movie. No, I'm going to sue you for raising an ignorant child. Okay? Because if your child is so stupid as to go out and imitate something that was done in a movie, it's like, I can't remember, I think it's Bill Engvall. Here's your sign. It says I'm stupid. He also says you can't fix stupid, which I'm not completely sure of, but certain stupid you can't fix. Okay? Again, if you see something on TV and you do it now, I'm telling you, here's your sign. Here's your button. Make sure to wear it right here. So everybody knows you're dumb. I mean, seriously. Okay? Whether it's buying a hamburger or whatever it is. So part of this has to do with what the role of the media is and what the impact of what the media content is on individuals. And this theory right here is similar to social learning theory in that the sense is that TV presents one view, one particular view, and this is a theory particular to TV, but you expand it to all media. That because TV shows one particular view of like smoking or drinking or drugs, meaning a positive light or a romanticized view, that individuals who are exposed to heavy amounts of this content will tend to have opinions and value systems and beliefs that are similar to what's being shown on television. So it means, for smoking, for example, or drinking, the more TV you watch, the more likely you are to smoke cigarettes, and define it in a desirable way, or in a rebellious manner, or something. And media is clever. They like to connect things together, smoking and sex. Smoking and being cool. Smoking and friends. Smoking and being rebellious. Drinking and sex. Drinking and being rebellious. Drinking and fun. Marijuana and fun. Once they make that connection, just like McDonald's wants kids to think, McDonald's Happy Meal. That's why they call it a Happy Meal, not a depression meal. Okay? They are trying to addict children just like this. You know, if McDonald's was selling heroin, you know, I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, they are essentially rolling up in a windowless van and going to kids, hey kids, want some candy? Get in the van. Okay? I mean, that's what McDonald's does. That's their job. They're just legally allowed to do this crap. Toy companies do the same thing. Or snack food companies. You tell me sugar is not addictive? Okay. But the issue is here's what role does television play? And this is cultivation theory in its simplest form. According to Miller, who wrote this book in 2005, highlighting what cultivation theory was and also media stuff. Cultivation theory was not developed to study targeted and specific effects, meaning watching Superman will lead children to attempt it by jumping out the window, but rather in terms of the cumulative and overarching impact, over time, television has on the ways we see the world in which we live, and the way we view certain acts. Television is not going to make you go drink until you vomit. It's not going to make you smoke cigarettes. It's not going to make you do drugs. It's not going to make you just have sex. But if you're already thinking about those things, if those things are already in your mind, if you've already got people, particularly people around you in your primary social group that have a positive attitude towards those things and are doing those things, and then you combine it with the media, that is thunder and lightning. That is where the rubber hits the road. That is where things start to occur. I've seen statistics as high as you're 400% more likely to start doing drugs or drinking if your friends do it. And this is why your parents can't stand some of your friends. This is why they want to kill them when they come over the house. This is why when your parents see one of your friends have tattoos on their arms, immediately think that this is a scumbag. They could be the nicest person in the world. It could be like a tattoo with Jesus on it or something. And all they see is some tattooed freak trying to get my kid to get involved in sex or drugs or swinging or whatever, some perversion, any kind of perversion. I find it funny is that parents are most, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but I would assume your parents talk to you more about sex than they did about drugs before you went off to college. Because they see that as a serious threat, which I find funny because not all your parents have done drugs, all of them had premarital. Come on. I'd like, if any of your parents were virgins until they were married, I want to interview them. Seriously. Because your parents, most of them grew up in the 70s. What was the 70s like? All reserved, when people cut their hair and behaved themselves and wore suits at school? Or was people injecting tranquilizers in their eyeballs? Having sex on park benches? I mean, that's what the 70s was about. It's about, oh, I bumped into you, let's go have sex. Without a condom. Why do you think AIDS came about in 78, 79, 80? Why do you think that spread all over the place in the 70s? I know this is hard for you guys to believe, but there was a time when sex didn't kill you. That's hard for people to believe, but that was the case. That's why people were so reckless in the 70s. Okay? It used to be that herpes was like the AIDS of its day. So was syphilis. So, and Benjamin Franklin and Christopher Columbus, all these freaks had it. Benjamin Franklin was a complete and utter pervert. Okay, shameless, absolutely shameless. And you can guess what Thomas Jefferson and George Washington were like. I mean, our country was founded by a bunch of perverted, weird old men who owned human beings as slaves. I mean, they were. If you meet these people, I wouldn't want to shake their hand. Okay, you think you have a bad opinion of George Bush? Go read what Thomas Jefferson did, talking about freedom and then beating the hell out of black people and sleeping with them too, and then pretending like he didn't do it. Only in America. Anyway. You should, instead of a Founder's Day or something, it should be Pervert Day or something like that. Anyway, Gerbner, Gross, Morgan, and Signorelli in 1986 explained cultivation theory in more detail here, argued that while religion or education had previously been greater influence on social trends and mores, now television had replaced these things, or at least partly replaced these things. And it became the area where messages and images were shared into the American culture. And particularly when there was less cable channels or no cable at all, everybody got the same view of the moon landing or JFK's assassination or whatever, or the Vietnam War. If you want to think about the effects of television, think about how the coverage of the Vietnam War impacted America's public opinion of that war. Okay? And think about this as well, even though many of you were very young. In 2003, they embedded hundreds of reporters in with the U.S. military during the Iraq invasion. And it was done not to embarrass the U.S. military or to give accurate information about what was going on. It was to look at these cowboys kicking ass and taking names. Aren't you proud to be an American? This ridiculous Terminator diehard mentality that we're just going to shoot anything that moves. Look how great we are. Look at all your money pays for. Look at this magnificent equipment. Nobody can stand up to the United States. That's what that was about. And the television does that. There's no doubt about it. During the first Gulf War, they did the exact same thing. Let's wave the flag. They even called missiles Patriot missiles. It's real patriotic. Blow up buildings. That's real patriotic, isn't it? I would say to anybody who thinks that the use of force should be something that is like first considered, is that that's what Al-Qaeda thought too. They're not in the mood to negotiate with people, are they? The U.S. military, in the opinion of many people, and it already has this attitude, Europeans already have this attitude, is in danger of being considered to be a questionable organization at the least, morally. And what is going on? Some moron just killed 7 children in Afghanistan. Sick. So either war twists your brain or war attracts twisted people. Take your pick. Probably does a little bit of both. Right? There's a lot of Rambo idiots that just want to shoot people. One of my friends, at least former friend, said that he wanted to join the military to kill people. That was his goal. And when he told the recruiter thought it was funny. Anyway, enough about the military. Television cultivates from infancy the very predispositions and preferences that used to be acquired from other primary sources, educational institutions, religions, family. The repetitive pattern of television's mass-produced messages and images forms the mainstream of a common symbolic environment, and therefore it's almost like being bombarded with. It's like it becomes a form of culture that you see something so much. I'll tell you right now, advertisers know this. If you watch the other documentary, The Persuaders, you show something enough, people will start. A certain percentage of people will start to do it. They did an experiment in the 1950s, I think it was the 50s, where they put one frame of food in every like 50 or 60 frames in a movie, and people got up and went to the snack bar at a higher rate than when they didn't show the film with subliminal messages in it. And not only that, I'll tell you right now, if you ask proselytizing Christian groups that go around trying to, like if you've ever been to a Mets game, I'm sure you've got the Jews for Jesus pamphlet and things like that. Or if you just stand around the wrong street corners, some Jehovah's Witnesses will come up to you, or I've had Mormons come up to me, evangelical Christians. I'm not judging them on this, but what their premise is that they think that, even though they get rejected, telemarketers have the same thing. They think that after about 7 or 8 times that they talk to you about Jesus, the 8th or 9th time they'll get you. They'll get you. And advertisers do the exact same thing in television. Think about how you get these messages pounded into your brain. To the point where, and also on television, versus out on the street, your guard is up. If somebody hands you a pamphlet, you're going to question what they're doing. On television, it's your favorite show. It's just absorbing like osmosis into your brain. Okay? Cultivation theory in its most basic form then suggests that exposure to television over time subtly cultivates viewers' perceptions of reality. This cultivation can have an impact even in light viewers of television, because the impact on heavy viewers has an impact on our entire culture. Meaning that people who are impacted by television impact other people who don't watch television. It's like a contagious disease. Okay? So not only social learning theory, but now social contagion theory. That things spread through social networks like diseases. Okay? Apple's success is based almost solely upon social contagion and social learning theory and cultivation theory. They cultivated an image that they were hip. and new and innovative and up to date and all this other stuff, and people were willing to stand in line and pay twice as much for something they could have went down to the store and got a Samsung tablet computer for $220 or an Amazon Fire. Seriously. I'll tell you one thing, when the iPhone 4 came out, the FDA or the government put on a warning on it for overheating. And they've also done a study that said that iPads can get up to 114 degrees. So don't sit them on your laps, guys. I think I'm joking. Go look up what heat does. Anyway, television is a medium of the socialization of most people into standardized roles and behaviors. Its function is, in a world, enculturation. Stated most simply, the central hypothesis explored in cultivation research is that those who spend more time watching television are more likely to perceive the real world in ways that reflect the most common and recurrent messages on television compared to people who watch less television or no television. And there's not really any. There are. You'll meet these people, and for somebody in the class, tell me if this is actually the case. There are what called just like. I don't want to make a comment about that. Anyway, but just like there are snobs, there are television snobs who think that they're too good for TV. And that they don't watch it, but in reality they sneak it like somebody who's like an alcoholic that's in denial. Like, oh, I'm clean, and you're back there sipping it, they're back there drinking out of a glass, trying to make their breath smell better. There are very few people who don't watch any television whatsoever. I was just at a grant meeting the other day. We were at a restaurant, and I asked one of the waitresses if she'd ever seen The Big Bang Theory, because there was a bunch of, we were all nerds talking about science at a bar, which basically what Big Bang Theory is, the whole show. Anyway, and she goes, oh, I don't watch TV. And then she goes, oh, but except for cooking shows. And I thought, that's television there. So, thought I'd remind you that that is television. Anyway, so let me show you these. Let's go to the article briefly on smoking and look at how they define this. So, what was the main focus of the article, and what were the findings roughly? What was the focus of the article? Yes.
The amount of hours a kid watched, how it affected their risk of smoking.
So that's what their hypothesis was. Do people who watch more television, because television, they've shown here that television contains a lot of people, even though, here, let me ask you this. Are tobacco companies allowed to advertise their products on television directly? Are people allowed to show smoking on television? All day long. And they actually did a study of G-rated movies. Here, in a recent review of 81 G-rated films. What's G for? General audience, which means kids, like Shrek. Shrek's G-rated, although it should be PG. Is it G-rated? PG. Yeah, because there's a lot of. Like, it's like Finding Nemo. There are so many like adult, almost like partly sexual references. Yeah, like really questionable references, in my opinion. But Disney and Pixar do that for why? Why do they do that? Huh? Right. They're not. I mean, look. Parents try to be good and they try to take their kids to things that they enjoy. But let's face it, kids are not going to enjoy watching Snow White for the fifth, or adults are not going to enjoy watching Snow White for the fifth time. Okay. And on top of it, sometimes you get situations where G-rated movies is, if I have one child and there's two parents, what's the ratio of adults to children in that theater? You know, it's 2/3 of the audience is adults, so you got to give them something. Also, there's a lot of flatulence jokes in Disney movies and things like that, and butt jokes and like turd jokes, like stuff like that. Kids pick up that stuff. Here's also the thing with cultivation theory. It's one thing when your television is trying to convince you to like recycle or floss your teeth or eat broccoli, stuff that people don't want to do, right? Or work out, or whatever. Name something unpleasant you don't want to do. Eating broccoli probably at the top of the list for a lot of people. Okay, that's one thing you have to really pound on somebody. You have to put. What is going on out here? You have to put a lot of effort into. You have to attack people's negative beliefs, and then you have to create positive beliefs. Where do you have to convince people that sex is pleasurable? Do you have to convince people that drinking is fun? Do you have to convince people that they want to drink or that they want to eat junk food? Do you see how easy it is to advertise for hamburgers? All you got to do is put a picture of the hamburger. That's it. That's it. That's why I laugh at these companies who try to convince all this stuff. Anyway, but regardless, so one of the most effective way for television to work is to present something that people want to do in a positive light. Okay? Oh, just take the day off of work, or cheat on your taxes, or what? Something that people would do. They look for justifications for this. Okay? And people use rationalizations throughout their day, not only based on media stuff, but just, why should I sleep with this person? Why should I get drunk before noon? Whatever it is. There's actually a poster that some of you probably have seen, or some of you have in your rooms, that is the perfect example of this. It's 101 reasons to have a party. So you just point at one. Right? It's the first day of spring, which actually is more of a real reason, but the sun, whatever. The sun went around the earth, and that's why we had a party. Like the hard part is to convince people not to go drink or not to smoke or whatever it is. So when television we call this convergence. When it goes with it's like petting a cat backwards. That's a bad move, isn't it? And cats are not like dogs. Dogs will sit there for a while before they really get angry. Cats, they'll smack you when you try to pet them. They're like, get the hell away from the cats. When they don't want to be touched, they don't want to be touched. But again, if you're petting the cat this way, or for example, rowing upstream, that's a better analogy. That TV wants to row downstream. They want to go with the current, and the current is give them what they want. Feed them hedonism. Make them think it's cool to smoke. Not everybody dies of cancer. Some people die of heart attacks or emphysema. Some people die because they dropped their cigarette on their lap while they're driving and they wreck into a telephone pole. Okay, whatever it is. But anyway, so what did they find out? So that was the idea. We want to find out what's the role television plays in initiation of smoking in young people, even though they're not allowed to directly advertise. What did they find out roughly? What was the sort of the finding? What was the finding? More overpaid construction people doing that. Let's break something so we can fix it. Reminds me of 347. Huh?
I think it's the theater.
Oh, well, that's actually a value.
Yeah.
So I take it back. It's not some unionized, overpaid, bloated moron who gets paid $40 an hour while real people get paid $8. Anyway, what was the findings of the article? You don't like the attacking state union? She paid $45 an hour as an appropriate thing for construction workers to sit around and smoke cigarettes and drink coffee? Go ahead.
The more hours that the kids watch TV, the higher percentage of that.
So what's that suggest about how smoking is portrayed in the media?
Because they watch it so much, they saw it more often, so it's on TV a lot.
So it's portrayed, they're absorbing the portrayal of smoking, at least some people, as a positive thing, that it's a desirable behavior. Is that the attitude that most other institutions in American society take towards smoking? Like in general, how do your parents look at smoking? How do families look at smoking? Is it a good or a bad thing? It's bad. You want to quit, even if you're addicted. Here's where social learning theory is very instructive about how it works. And this is why I tell parents about, because I do drug and alcohol studies and things like that, and look at rehabilitation. And for example, some AA programs only have 7% success rate. So just think about a company or a drug or anything like that that had a 7% success rate. But here's why your parents telling you not to smoke or drink doesn't work. Because many times, have they drank and smoked and still drink? And they try to tell you to not have sex with somebody you're going to marry until you're married. And it's like, Dad, you showed me those pictures when you were at Woodstock. I mean, how many people did you sleep with in that week alone? I mean, my gosh. So parents have a problem about hypocrisy, don't they? But they can at least offer you a warning that, hey, I'm addicted and I wish I could stop, son or daughter or whatever it is. So that's part of it. What about education? Are schools in favor of smoking? Do they put up Marlboro ads and Winstons on the side of school buses? How about the media? How about the commercial media? We said that smoking is not allowed to be directly advertised. What are some of the other? Are there anti-smoking advertisements on TV? Well, how come these don't work? Or do they? What's the evidence? Are you looking at the chart? What did it say for people who watch 4 to 5 hours? What's the percentage of young people who smoke in that group?
14.2.
And that leaves 85% of people who watch television who don't, young people at that level, who don't smoke. So there's at least an example of maybe the mixed messages that go on. That the media particularly, right? The media has this attitude that, okay, we're going to show anti-smoking commercials. We're going to show, remember the Quit hotline, and they have the things for the chewing gum and all, and now they have these electronic cigarettes that suck in nicotine through water vapor and things like which I'm telling you right now is way. You're still addicted to nicotine, you're not sucking in the ammonia. I would tell anybody who smokes, go on Dr. Jeffrey Weidman's website and look at the chemicals that they put on cigarettes, including ammonia, formaldehyde, cyanide. Seriously, they manipulate nicotine levels. This is ugly stuff, man, I'm telling you. Okay? Cigarettes kill 10 million people a year in the world. Roughly. That's the estimates, at least, for this year. It was 5 million just 10 years ago. In this country alone, 440,000 people died from smoking. 63% of all diseases attributed to non-communicable, or deaths contributed to non-communicable diseases, meaning things that aren't TB or malaria. 63% of deaths that occur that are not based on contagious diseases are due to smoking. So it's a serious, serious issue. But at the same time, the media shows stuff like Mad Men. Or in movies, they smoke, or they have references to smoking, or Bugs Bunny smoking a cigar, or whatever the hell it is. Who's one of the most famous people in the United States who smokes? But he doesn't do it in public. The President of the United States smokes cigarettes. Don't you think that's a little bit of a weird message to be sending to kids? Do you think the President would go out and go, yeah, smoking is great, it's refreshing, it's relaxing? He's basically saying that, isn't he, though? By doing it, he's also saying how addictive it is. Okay? Anyway, but let's take the government. So we have Obama smokes, but here's the other thing. The government puts restrictions on smoking, doesn't it? It funds all these programs. Does the government also give money to tobacco farmers? And it actually helps, at least for a while it was, and this is part of my dissertation study, it helps international tobacco companies open up foreign markets so they can sell cigarettes to China. And if you sell toothbrushes or chewing gum or cigarettes, you salivate over India and China. If I could just get 10% of those people to give me a nickel, okay, I'd have $10 million. Right? So there's a good plan. Go to China and ask everybody for a nickel. Don't you think everybody would give you a nickel? It's going to take a while. Okay, maybe we should just. There's where panhandling would really pay off. Even though a lot of people are not very wealthy, you can just get a nickel from everybody who walks by. Oh my gosh. And I don't know if I mentioned this to this class. Some homeless people they make hundreds of dollars every day. So, except for the ones that drink and things like that. But anyway, so going to the research study itself, so they open the article by saying this: television programs depicting tobacco usage may encourage smoking among adolescents. So you see them saying may and may encourage. So they're qualifying it, and they're trying to answer that question through their research. Okay? Although bans have prevented direct tobacco advertisement on television, studies have indicated that widespread portrayal of smoking on television and primetime programming, movies, music videos, and sporting events. And tobacco companies are quite clever. They perceive or anticipate when a smoking ban is going to happen in a country, and they blitz the entire market. And then they find other ways around it. Like, for example, tobacco companies are allowed to give out free stuff at like events, like festivals, or like set up a tent at a bazaar. They're allowed to point-of-sale advertisements. If you go to 7-Eleven, even in the United States, and I love this, the tobacco advertisement is on the lower half of the glass door, so kids can see it. They can still get, now they stopped this in this country, but you used to be able to get like Marlboro dollars and Camel bucks, and you could buy stuff that had Camel written on it, and T-shirts and things. But they can still basically sponsor billboards and sporting events, or show up at sporting events, and in general, their main thing is that, look, when you sell an addictive product, the only thing it's like heroin. The only thing you need to do is just give somebody a taste. That's all. You don't need to keep advertising for addictive products. And when's the last time, I mean, there's there's hundreds of candy bars. Very few of them actually get advertised on television. Because, look, you don't need to advertise, something that's filled with chocolate and candy and sugar or anything. I mean, for real, on some levels, When's the last, you see Coke commercials, but do they ever talk about price or anything like that? They make it into more of an experience. They go, look, it's Coca-Cola, you know what it is. I don't need to sell it. And tobacco companies take a similar thing. They're like, all right, you want to cut off our advertisement? We'll find other ways around it. And one of the ways around it is we will pay actors, like Charlie Sheen, to smoke in his movies. Or his TV. Did he smoke in 2.5 Men? He smoked cigarettes? Anybody know?
Cigars.
Which are not as bad. They're not as carcinogenic because you don't inhale them. You're not supposed to, although some people do. But in his interview with Diane Sawyer, he had a cigarette in his mouth and he kept it going out. I mean, he looked like a bum. He looked like a bum anyway. It's a $1 million bum. So anyway, but he actually in Japan in the 90s was doing TV commercials for Lark and stuff, and they had Pierce Brosnan and all these other people. But one of the ways they do it, they pay celebrities to go, here, smoke these cigarettes in the movie. Or they pay movie writers and producers, hey, make this character a smoker. And the movie theaters and the TV shows will tell you this, like we're going to see some scenes from Mad Men. They'll be like, look, it's integral to the plot. We need it to make it look realistic. Because in the 1960s, does anybody know what the smoking prevalence rate in the United States was? What percentage of adult Americans smoked in the 1950s and 60s? 50%. And now you can see why it was in bars and restaurants. You used to be able, there was a time in the United States where you could smoke on planes. You could smoke in hospital waiting rooms. Seriously, indoors, in restaurants where people were eating. And I always love it when people put their cigarettes out on their plate. I just love the look, isn't it? You're going to blow your nose on a tablecloth too? Oh my God. You know? Anyway. But things have changed greatly. Now only about 22% of American adults smoke. And according to this study and several others, there's only about 11 or 12% of young people who smoke. But that's altered as well. But again, so the tobacco industry has to fight against these negative portrayals, and they have to get their product out there, which is actually not that hard. And I'm telling you, TV and movies will say, look, this character, have you ever seen the X-Men? Remember the Smoking Man? There was a character named the Smoking Man. Okay? I don't watch a lot of movies because they're terrible. But one of the last movies I saw, and it wasn't at the theater, well, not one of the last, but one movie I remember with smoking, it was the first Charlie's Angels movie. Remember the villain smoked? And when he tied Drew Barrymore to the chair and put duct tape on her lips, he was sitting there smoking and he was doing splits and he was trying to act all cool and and they were making him out to be a cool character. I'm waiting for Darth Vader to smoke. I guess you can hard to smoke through that mask. He can figure it out. He's Darth Vader. You can choke people across the room. I think you can figure out a way to smoke through a mask. Anyway, so in a recent review of 81 G-rated films, 35 films, or 43% of them, showed tobacco use with a mean exposure of 2.1 minutes per film. That's G-rated movies. With R-rated movies, it shoots through the roof. I don't think there's I guarantee you there's very few R-rated movies where there isn't one person smoking something. Even if it's styrofoam or something. I doubt, and maybe this is why Disney lost so much money, I doubt John Carter is smoking cigarettes. But he was a Confederate. The story was that John Carter was a Confederate soldier or something. He gets transported. Anyway. By the way, Disney lost $200 million this quarter because of that movie. They spent $250 million to make that pile of junk. I mean, it's probably not that bad, but come on, man. $250 million for a movie? Give me $25 million and I'll make you a better movie than that pile of crap. I mean, my God. It cost $700,000 to make the Blair Witch Project. They made $70 million. You know? Anyway. In music videos as well, smokers are typically portrayed as attractive, successful, and influential in a positive social context. Stand-up comedians, Ron White smokes on stage. If you've ever seen him. Yeah, he's a lunatic. He's going to drop dead. I think he wants to drop dead on stage or something. I don't know how he's alive, and Gallagher, who's a bony little thing, has had 2 heart attacks on stage. So if you guys know who Gallagher, he used to smash watermelons with a mallet. Anyway, he's a goofball. Often with sexually suggestive content, so now not only influential in positive social context, but sexually suggestive, trying to make it look cool and alluring that, hey, cool people, rebels smoke, right? Rarely is smoking portrayed in an unattractive manner and associated with negative consequences. Name a movie where someone's smoking a cigarette and they're like, man, you smell like smoke and your fingers are yellow and your teeth and your breath smell and, man, is that a tumor in your neck? I mean, name a movie where that happens. I mean, there was a movie called Thank You for Smoking. That was sort of a satirical joke about smoking. And there was the movie The Insiders with Al Pacino and Russell Crowe that made smoking look really bad. But name a movie where it makes smoking look horrendous. Name a movie where drinking is a serious problem, except for 28 Days. It's only Sandra Bullock, isn't it? Why she would marry that movie? Anyway, that stuff bothers me to death. Logos, billboards, and banners for cigarettes and make tobacco advertisement a prominent feature of sporting events in American television. The top tier of NASCAR was once called the Winston Cup. That lasted until about 1997. The Women's Tennis Association Tour used to be called the Virginia Slims. The Women's Tennis Association Tour. For the longest time, there were tobacco advertisements not only on NASCAR vehicles, but still to this day in certain countries on F1 cars and stuff like that. Which I find funny that it's just like beer and athletics, but smoking and athletics certainly don't go together. I don't think Usain Bolt is going to run a 100-meter dash and then light up a cigarette, or any of these people. Okay, most athletes. I guess they made a joke about Keith Hernandez smoking on Seinfeld. Most athletes don't dare to smoke. Now, with baseball in particular, they have a problem with smokeless tobacco. People now most of them eat sunflower seeds or chew gum. And I don't know how you can chew gum for 4 hours and not have your jaw fall apart. But I guess they do it, and they must have jaws like steel traps. I'd hate to have one of these people bite me or something, like a pit bull or something. But anyway, but for the most part, Major League Baseball has sort of encouraged, let's see, like particularly, for them to stop this stuff. And if you do it, don't do it when you're up to bat. And you can see it. I mean, when someone's got smokeless tobacco in their mouth, there's a big wad in their mouth right there. And I'll tell you right now, smokeless tobacco will kill you, depending on your genetics, will kill you quicker than smoking. Because they put fiberglass in it, you cancer the mouth, and you can't eat. And cancer of the mouth is horrendous. It's a slow, torturous death. I mean, this is one of the reasons why they made a suicide machine and stuff like that. Okay? Just like stomach cancer is ugly too. Anyway. Television thereby may serve as an indirect method of smoking advertisement. The premise that television instructs and motivates behaviors grounded in social learning theory. According to this theory, people acquire new skills or behavioral scripts primarily through the observation of models. And you remember we just talked about in the cultivation theory, they said that the media is slowly and gradually replacing other socializing agents and is connecting with and exacerbating pre-existing socializing agents like friends. And peer groups are becoming more important, family and religion are becoming less important, and what the government says, is anybody listening to what the government says anymore? I mean, my gosh. Anyway. I mean, remember when the government used to talk about, remember the terror warnings with the color, and it was purple with red stripes and all this? When's the last time they've ever said anything about that? It all disappeared. You'd think the war on terror isn't even going on if you go back and see the way the government acts. There ain't no war going on. I don't know what's going on. I hope someday in 30 years we can look back at 9/11 as like this weird blip in history or something like that. But I'll tell you, if that's the case, we blew about $4 trillion on a war that probably didn't need to be waged. Anyway, people perform their behavior in response to expected and valued rewards. So here's the equation. I see something that other people are doing, and I see that it gets rewarded. Remember we talked about this with the APA article. Like this is how young girls that are 11 and 12 learn that sex is being highly sexualized or wearing sexual clothes is important. So some girl, 11, 12-year-old, comes in with a shirt cut down to here, and all the boys start slobbering on her, giving her attention. Hey, how you doing? Nice to meet you. Blah, blah, blah. All the other girls see that. Some of them are disgusted with it, saying words that I'm not going to repeat about this person. They start with W and H and S. Okay. Whereas the other girls are like, I'm better looking than she is. I do that too. Men do the same thing, Whatever it is, an expensive car, or going out to a Broadway show, or working out. They got a six-pack. Make sure they're. I'm gonna go buy 10 bottles of Nair. So you look like a 12-year-old boy. Anyway. Do you want to look like Justin Bieber? You go ahead. Okay. Anyway. Although he is dating Selena Gomez. As noted, television provides adolescents with role models, including movie and television stars and athletes who portray smoking as personally and socially rewarding. So here it is. Smoking, I see it. It's getting rewarded. And then I make the connection that, hey, I want those rewards too. And smoking may be something, maybe I should consider this. And then maybe a friend comes by and says, here, try this cigarette. Or maybe, here, and I'll tell you right now, the tobacco companies love this connection. I can take somebody who tell you that they hate smoking, they can't stand cigarettes, the tobacco companies are the worst in the world, but as soon as they get a couple gin and tonics in them, all of a sudden they're a smoker. And the tobacco companies love this to death. They love the connection with alcohol. They also love the connection with sex. How many times you see a movie where after the people are done having sex, that a cigarette comes on? Right? They want that to be connected to it, right? And cigarettes are like phallic shaped and all kinds of stuff like that. Right? Anyway. So they're saying here no longitudinal studies have been done, and so they did it, and they found out that children who watch, if you go from 0 hours of TV to 4 or 5 hours of TV, there is like a 400% increase. It goes from, I think, what was the, I think it was like 2.5 or 4%, and then the highest one was about 15%. Actually, 300% difference. So anyway, and here's one of the reasons why. So this is from Mad Men. It'll work. You know how YouTube is.
When it does work out, it's like having that first cigarette.
So they're drinking and smoking.
Head gets all dizzy. Your heart pounds. Knees go weak. Remember that?
I'm never with a heart of gold and ways of children. I've been told.
And it makes people look serious or cool, like they're thinking about something.
A million of certain characters, man. That's got it.
And it's all in there. Where you put it in and have the lighter, you flick the lighter, and like the whole big production, like and the way you flick the ashes, it becomes like a production. It becomes an act.
And if you put yourself to bed, don't think you gotta have another.
Yeah, I bet on Mad Men they don't show anybody waking up in the morning and puking blood or taking chemotherapy at the hospital.
Give me a cigarette.
You gotta be cool when you light it. That's key, man. That's the key. And when you flick the ashes, you can't be like all goofy like this. You gotta go like this. Flick it out the window or hang it out the window.
Like a chimney.
I said, Ace is full now. How about you? He said, well, I'll tell you in a minute or two, but right now, I don't have a cigarette.
Disgusting. Smoke a cigarette right now. Stop some. Eat some. It's a sign of weakness.
What do you think you're doing?
The accordion player and cigarette with it.
That was a joint.
Even if you fuck yourself to death, don't think you're not going to get it. You just hate to make it wait. You gotta have another cigarette. Smoke a cigarette.
Yeah, people throw up when they do heroin too. Here is supposedly every cigarette. No wait, that was every cigarette. This one is this guy talking about smoking and drinking. From Mad Men again.
Doc Phillips will be present at Sterling Cooper. My goodness. Obviously, I accept.
Well, that makes sense.
Congratulations.
The clothes, actually, and all the period stuff, the cocktails and cigarettes, really help you lose yourself. You know, your present day concerns, whatever it is you bring with you when you go to work. Definitely changes the way you sit and speak and breathe and talk and walk. And it just sort of helps you kind of stay in the world of the character. Cigarette smoking is obviously a bad habit, but it's a hell of a prop, you know. I mean, it punctuates whatever you're saying, it gives you business to do when you're not
And when
doing
you're dying
anything
of throat
else.
cancer, don't come crying to me.
I went outside to take my dog
Just
for
want
a
you to look
walk.
cool.
And that's when my phone started buzzing.
You're gonna look cool with that thing
Actually,
right there in your throat, going like that.
picking up dogs.
You're gonna look real cool with that, buddy.
Showbiz. Can't get enough of the glamour.
You're gonna look good when your hair falls out because you got chemo. Okay? I mean, that's what's at risk here. And this guy's saying, "Oh, it's a great prop." I would, if I was an actor, I would demand that it wasn't that something besides tobacco was in this crap. Seriously, I don't know what they could replace it with. Some kind of herbal tobacco. Who knows? But I'm telling you right now, you go on. I mean, you work on a TV show where people are constantly smoking, and you got a genetic predisposition to cancer. Here's your tombstone. Okay. And I told you, dying of cancer is very painful. It's not some kind of game. Here is a compilation of women smoking in movies.
My temperature is rising, surprising. Now I'm realizing how that trouble level concept of base driven hand flap spread across the room.
I don't know what's up with music.
Yes, with fire on this race place. Open fist, make him cut to this. What you miss? The miracle, 5,000 feds with some bread and fish. Little of that and a little bit of this. Calling me the quality now.
See, it's always in scenes where someone's like thinking about something. It's presented as dramatic and serious and adult, cool, romantic.
And just a little bit, let me hear your whole clip. Represent what the encore. Yes, and give you more.
Right, something like that. Where they break up with somebody, or they lost their job, or it's sex, or drinking, or whatever. Yeah, it's all connected to it. Like men smoke because they're thinking about something. Women smoke because they're worried about something. I mean, that's sort of like that's what it becomes in a lot of movies. Not all of them, but that's the general reality. You do see men most. Now they're tying it up with sex, like, look at me, I'm smoking cigarettes. And I don't think you need to make a connection to cigarettes is connected to a particular sexual act, or your mouth is involved. Think I'm joking? There's also the statement, it's kind of vulgar, but it actually stated on Family Guy, girls who smoke will also let you blank. Girls who smoke, coke. The girls who smoke will have sex with you. That's the idea. I doubt there's a lot of virgins. See, it's all sexual. I think she's digging something. Almost looks like I can't see it from this angle. Still, she's laying on her bed, which that's a good way to burn your sheets and catch something on fire. If you ever got a cigarette burn on the couch. Alright, you get the idea here. I don't want to belabor the point. So let's move on though. So they're smoking, and you get a good idea of what's going on there. But I want to move also, similarly, this statement about drinking and how it's portrayed. Now, particularly, what's the main difference between the way you can portray drinking on television and movies? Or let me put it this way. Why do you have more leeway to advertise alcohol and to put people drinking in movies and television versus showing them smoke, which is much more controversial? Why is drinking somewhat less controversial? Why is alcohol less controversial? What doesn't it cause? Lung cancer. Alcohol causes cancer. Just not at a high rate. It causes mouth cancer. It's been connected to breast cancer, mouth cancer, brain cancer, stomach cancer, throat, you name it. People who test wine a lot, like taste wine, they get lesions inside their mouth. Now, part of it has to do with a lot of cancer, those of you know, especially those of you in nursing or biology. Some cancers are 75% genetic. It's like pancreatic cancer seems to be that way. Certain forms of brain cancer seem to be that way. And lung cancer seems to be that way. I don't know if I told you this. My dad smoked about a pack or more a day for 30 years. There's nothing wrong with his lungs. Nothing. And nobody in my family, and they all smoked, have ever died of lung cancer. Or any kind of cancer. So. They all, heart disease gets them. Anyway, so you got to take the good with the bad. So anyway, tell you what though, most people would probably rather have a massive heart attack than suffer for 4 years dying of cancer. Anyway, it's not good either way. It's not good either way, but still. So what this article looked at was, what is the interconnection between personality, environmental stimuli, and particularly media portrayals of drinking? And one of the things they found was that people, one of the theories they had was, people who have high levels of sensation seeking, like adrenaline junkies, people who jump off of buildings with parachutes in their hands, or ride motorcycles down the road when it's raining, and people like Kellen Winslow, people, idiots like that. People who just do dangerous things. And people have, there's research that shows that people who are sensation seeking are also more likely to become addicted to drugs. Because drugs, especially stimulants, because they mimic adrenaline in the brain. Adrenaline is a drug. Anybody if you've ever had a near-death experience, after the fear subsides, you feel amped up like you're Superman or something. It is a bizarre feeling. Or even something positive happens, like you get like a promotion and you didn't expect it, or something good happened, right? Yeah, somebody out and you didn't think you were going to see it. Anyway, then you dance down the street, that kind of, like if you ever see somebody dancing, or they win the lottery, like my grandma broke her hip when she won the lottery, or she won the bingo, she won like $10,000 of bingo, jumping up and down, and she broke her hip. She was a bit of a no. I'm surprised she broke her hip. I'm not surprised she was jumping around. But what the theory is that people who seek sensation stuff, if they're exposed to R-rated movies, particularly R-rated movies, that show drinking in a positive light, then that will reinforce their sensation seeking, that they will seek out these things that are presented to them in the movies as thrilling things to do. So here's the idea here. There's a relatively large literature suggesting that the personality trait of sensation seeking is a predisposing factor for alcohol use and abuse. High sensation seeking is associated with a need for intense stimulation and a willingness to take risks in order to satisfy this need. Like Steve O. This guy has got something wrong with his brain chemistry, seriously. And that's one of the reasons why he's on drugs, too. This guy is a hardcore drug addict. This guy's done every drug on the planet, probably. He's done stuff I haven't even heard of, okay? He was on, I think, Celebrity Rehab or something, one of them, Intervention, one of those goofy shows. But anyway, it makes perfect sense that this guy also likes to be shot up in the air in a porta potty and have people smack him with a hammer and scorpion and sting him in very private places and stuff. Look, if you were allowing scorpions to sting you, you have a serious problem. But again, why does Johnny Knoxville and Steve O do this? Why do they do this stuff? Because they like abuse? Because it makes money. Because it's ridiculous, right? And people don't want parents. Well, most parents. Some parents are like, let's go out and try that, kids. Come on, let's go, Billy. Let's go. Get your skateboard. You're going to jump over a moving car.
This topic reminds me of a movie that just recently came out called Project X.
No, that's it. And then some kid already killed himself trying to imitate stuff in that movie. Yeah, exactly. That a sensation-seeking person would be thrilled with, or like Need for Speed. You ever, or what was it? No, Gone in 60 Seconds. Isn't it? Like all these movies like that. Isn't there one that is there one Need for Speed? Right, where it's like racing, and there's like 3 or 4 of these, and one of them's drifting and all this. Sensation-seeking people would love something like that. And not only will they love that, they'll go out and do something like that. They'll go out that day and go, man, let's do it, man. Put it in first gear, dude. Let's go.
In my town, there was a kid threw a Project X party, and 2 days before
Police showed up.
he put it on Facebook.
See, there you
before
go.
The event, there was 587 people attending. And when he went there, cops were there. It started at 9, cops got there by 10, and one kid jumped off the roof into a whole group of people.
Is that the kid who died?
No, he didn't die. He jumped, I don't know if he got hurt or anything, but I know he jumped off the roof into a whole crowd of people.
And again, why would somebody pick that up off of TV and not pick up like the fact that they show that there's TV shows where people are calm and collected and they have their lives and they live normal lives? That's boring. Project X is hilarious and thrilling and pleasurable. Again, you don't need to point a gun at someone's face and go, drink this beer. It reminds me of training day. If you do not smoke, it's a heavy problem. Okay? You don't need to convince people to eat candy. Here's a pie. Make sure you eat that. No, I don't want that stuff. Don't you have any Brussels sprouts instead? I mean, seriously. So if you romanticize something that people want to do anything anyway, like sex, They're just again, it's like the 101 reasons to throw a party, 101 reasons to commit fornication, or to engage, for casual. There's a poster right there. I could make millions of dollars off of that. 101 reasons for a one-night stand. I'm bored. Would be at the top of the list. I'm horny would be number 2. Number 3, a breeze has been past me. I watched the TV commercial. I mean, just on down the list. Bored would be at the top of the list. But anyway, back to this. So this stimulation and willingness to take risks would lead to substance abuse. Someone who's sensation seeking wouldn't care that cocaine might be addictive. They might actually be attracted to that. They might think, oh, I'll beat this. Like I jumped off a building with a parachute in my hand. You think cocaine's going to drag me down to hell? No way. And before you know it, it's like Richard Pryor said, you can't get addicted to coke. My friend's been doing coke for 10 years. He ain't addicted. Anyway. In addition, there's growing evidence that various forms of media have important influences on substance use in children and adolescents. For example, several longitudinal studies have linked exposure to movie smoking to adolescent smoking in U.S. and European adolescents. These studies are notable for the consistency of their effects in spite of controls. It also goes down here. Previous research also indicates that young adolescents are frequently exposed to R-rated movies in spite of prohibition of admission without parental consent. And now with Netflix and YouTube and videos on demand, how much more access do young people have to R-rated movies? When I was a kid, the only place you could see R-rated movies was on HBO, and your parents could lock the damn thing out, or go to the movies and you have somebody lie, or you sneak in. Nowadays, does Netflix ask your ID if you go rent American Pie? You can buy, not only that, you can buy cigarettes and alcohol online. Now, shouldn't even tell you about salvia, but anyway, most of you know. Go on, if you want to laugh at stupid people, go on YouTube and look up salvia. It's unbelievable. It's hilarious. If you really want a good laugh, but also be appalled, look up beer drinking games. A lot of vomit in those videos. Like the flipping the cups over. Let me tell you something about beer pong. That ball goes on the floor, and water's not enough to wash off germs. Water actually makes some germs worse. So by that ball bouncing on the floor in a ratty rat house, it's got every kind of fluid and whatever, man and woman, on it, and now you put it in a little bit of water with your hands that you didn't wash, and now it went into your beer, and now you drank the beer. They actually connected beer pong to mononucleosis. Seriously. So anyway. But again here, according to the Motion Picture Association of Academy system, an R-rated motion picture may include adult themes, adult activity, hard language, nudity, intense or persistent violence, sexually oriented nudity, which I don't know what unsexually oriented nudity, what is that? So, anyway, drug abuse or other elements. In addition to these characteristics, R-rated movies also contain more smoking and drinking compared to other rating categories. That's the reason why they're rated R on some levels. Now, to display this, let's watch some scenes out of an old classic movie. And then I'm going to show you who Tom Hanks really is. Because he did a movie called Bachelor Party. This is almost a 30-year-old movie. It's called Revenge of the Nerds. It is one of the classic cult movies. It's like a Rocky Horror Picture Show. How many people have seen this movie? It's a 30-year-old movie. But how many people have heard of the movie? See, here you go. It's like Indiana Jones or something like that. Everybody's heard of those. The other day somebody told me they'd never seen Raiders of the Lost Ark. And I was, but that makes perfect sense. It's a 35-year-old movie. Anyway, so this first scene I'm going to show you has to do with alcohol and whether or not... This one actually does show partly negative characteristics. They're playing around with 188 proof alcohol and creating fireballs out of this. So again, think about if you really want a 10 or 12 or even an 18-year-old getting an idea about this. And this guy was actually 30-something years old when he did this movie.
What is it? Just try it.
Ted McGinley.
What is this? 188 proof. It's called a fire.
They used to not sell this in stores. Now it's called Everclear. You can get it anywhere. It used to be moonshine. Watch this. Yeah, that's real good to show kids that. You know, also you can do it with an aerosol can and a lighter. Keep that in mind, kids. Whoops. You know what? The music. Soundtrack by the Talking Heads. And again, this isn't Project X. This isn't old school. This isn't How High or whatever else movie you want to talk about that's about college and drinking. This isn't Van Wilder. This is from 30 years ago. Now, the next thing I'm going to show you is a party that they go to. They try to get into this fraternity called Tri-Lambs, which is a historically black fraternity. And they have this party, and it's going very badly until Booger breaks out the joints. So this isn't even technically about alcohol specifically, but they are drinking.
Hi.
So they said this scene is very clever. They're setting this up. First of all, he's got a cigarette hanging out his mouth. They set this up that the party is terrible, even with the alcohol. Until Booger pulls out these gigantic joints and everybody starts smoking and gets high. And nothing bad happens, and then they connect it to sex. So they're trying to impress these guys with the head of the fraternity. And you will, if you've ever watched ER, you'll see Anthony Edwards here playing the nurse. So again, the idea is that it's boring, it's terrible, it's the worst party ever, and then all of a sudden... Are you ready for the sex, girls? Yeah, this ain't Project X.
You can all sing along, the words are really easy. So I say I gotta be free. So I say I got you.
Don't bring an accordion to a party. Gary's rule for the day. Take my advice. And everybody's singing like it's a church sing-along.
I'm saying you gotta be
Terrible. So it's 9:40. And there's still nothing going
This
on.
party isn't going very well.
This reminds me of like most like middle school dances. This is what they're like. Everybody just stands on opposite sides of the
Maybe we
auditorium.
should eat. Maybe
They're
we should
afraid of
watch
cookies.
TV.
Hey guys. Wonder joints.
You thought Dave Chappelle invented it. And this one guy's just drinking a whole bottle of alcohol.
They taste better than they look.
You could do something on Asian stereotypes too. He's going around saying hair pie and taking pictures of girls. Because he's stoned. That's LeVar Burton from Star Trek.
Nothing.
If you're a 12 or 13-year-old and your friend brought some pot over in this movie,
This phone and a computer.
I think pot's going to get smoked. He's supposed to be the adult in the party.
Tail pipe? Some joy. Tail pipe? You built this yourself?
Yeah,
I think robots are sexy.
I do too. Really.
It's dressed like it's supposed to be a prom.
Okay.
Here's how not to dance. Now a lot lot of you are going to go watch this movie. You should see it from the beginning. It's hilarious. This was a huge box office hit. I want to say it made $100 million. And he was dancing too. He's not really a nerd, he's more of a scumbag.
You lose your damn party!
Oh, let's go.
Where?
Up to your room.
You want to go to my room?
Yeah.
See? Was that going to happen if they weren't stoned?
You're sighted.
So am I.
This is...
Really?
They're going to
Yeah,
switch
you wanna
glasses.
switch
It's so
glasses?
romantic.
Cuba, we always have the same prescription.
Yeah. Listen,
Again, he went on to have one hell of a career. He was on ER and everything.
Yeah, well, when I was in high school, I was thinking mostly of the aerospace field. But then when I got to college, I decided that I wanted something a little more
It was
challenging.
the 80s.
So I switched to computers. And now aerodynamics is just sort of a hobby.
Watch Booger.
Tell me why you're so afraid to let go. Believe me, boy, I'm not afraid to let my feelings show. Say that there's a right time for love.
They're not even dancing.
Say that there's a wrong time.
Wait, no, wait. Would you rather live in the ascendancy of a civilization or during its decline?
Wait, mister, do you want to fuck or not?
This is R-rated. This isn't R-rated. Here comes the tobacco. And he's dressed like Hugh Hefner. Watch him blow the smoke right in front of the camera. Alright.
You know,
Then afterwards, Alphabet is sending pigs to ruin their party. They're the football players. Alright, the next scene I'm going to show you is their little carnival, their little campus carnival, where one of the events is to drink, to do 20 laps on a tricycle and drink a beer every lap.
Without falling off?
Yeah.
Without falling.
So they have to talk about how to do it.
We are never going to get a fair shake as long as Stan Gable is president. But the only way to become president is to win the homecoming carnival. That's...
The overall winner will be determined by total points from number 1, field events, number 2, the charity fundraising booth, and number 3, the musical show and skit competition. And now, let the games begin!
That's John Goodman. He plays the jackass coach in the football team.
Okay, the object of the race is to complete 20 laps around the track while stopping every lap for a mandatory pit stop.
That's almost a case of beer.
The driver will chug a beer.
In like 20 minutes.
Oh, thank you. Good luck to you too, Buck.
When I went to the University of Alaska Fairbanks, they had what was called case day, where the object was to drink a case of beer. And it got to the point where they couldn't keep track of their money, so they made marks on their hands how many beers they had.
This is trichloromethylene. It counters all effects of alcohol in your system. Okay, drink the whole beer.
Go, go, go! Come on, Danny. Come on, buddy. You go. Pick his ass.
Okay, come on. You feeling okay, Sure?
Oh, fucking great. Go, go, go.
They're sort of making fun of the bad effects of alcohol, that it makes you tipsy and tired and nauseous and can kill you if you drink too much alcohol.
It's just you and the alphabet. Danny, you let that nerd beat you and you're nothing. You understand that?
No sweat.
He lost no chance now. That's right. Come on, let's go, Bert. Here we go.
Oh, man, it's wasted.
You get the idea. He wins it. All right, one more scene. I'm going to show you one more scene because you guys know Tom Hanks as Forrest Gump and the guy from Philadelphia and the moron who was in love with a volleyball in Castaway or whatever his problem was with the volleyball. I can assure you, if I'm alone on a desert island, I'm not going to talk to a stupid volleyball. He cried when it went floating away too. And that was a totally unrealistic movie. Tom Hanks could never pass off as a FedEx employee. Come on. He didn't even know how to start a truck. Anyway. Alright. Yeah, FBI, how many people have you arrested? Nobody. Why don't you go to Russia and China? That's where they do all that stuff, not here. So this is a movie that Tom Hanks did when he was young and not well known and had no Academy Awards and stuff like this. And he's probably one of the only actors that went from doing crappy movies like this to getting an Academy Award. I mean, most people don't go from doing joke movies. I mean, Johnny Knoxville's not going to win an Academy Award. Maybe for being the most disgusting person on the planet Earth. So here is what at least an example of parties. So here, the scene there is a party begins. If we have more time, I'll watch this. But here is when the party's already in action. This is a movie called Bachelor Party, and it's definitely R-rated. With those are condoms, not balloons. You see, people are in their underwear. They're drinking, and there's a whole table with drugs all over it. There's your Academy Award-winning actor right there, dancing on top of a piano like an idiot. That's Adrian, man. Now he's taking his shirt off. This guy's trying to cut his wrist with an electric razor. Alright, you get the idea there from that one scene. I wish you had more time. Maybe when we start up on Monday, we'll watch a little bit of the scene. But you get the idea here. Very rarely do movies deal with alcohol on a serious basis unless it's like 28 Days, Leaving Las Vegas or something